The Telecasters have invaded the channel. We've had 2 Tele-style guitar reviews up already. We've got a third one coming up later on this week. So I figured, why not do a Tele-themed video? And a conversation I had recently kind of launched the impetus of this thought. Hey everyone, I'm Nick in the States, and today we're going to talk about the Telecaster and why some traditionalists want to see a Telecaster look like this with a Tele neck pickup and a diagonal bridge pickup and butterscotch blackguard, something like that. That's what they think the Tele should be, and because in their head that's what they see and that's what they've kind of gone through. And this started when I was having a conversation with my buddy Jeremy, and I showed him the Artist guitar, and I'm like, this thing's surprisingly good, especially for the price, like 180 bucks or whatever they are. And he was like, yeah, but I don't understand, like, humbuckers in a Tele. I just think a Tele should look kind of like this. And I said I can kind of understand that, and I kind of mulled over it for a bit, because, people's opinions are right. It's your own personal opinion. I'm not trying to change Jeremy's mind, but it planted a seed of thought. Why is it that, especially nowadays in the era of, project guitars and things of the like, is the Telecaster get probably more love than a Stratocaster or a Les Paul or whatever? And I think a lot of it has to do with the formula. When the Broadcaster or the ESquier or whatnot came out in the beginning, it was a big chunky slab of wood, maybe a couple pieces of wood glued together, a single pickup, a couple different things to give you variable tones out of it, a bolt-on neck and whatever. The same thing that makes the Stratocaster such an awesome hot rod. This was just super easy chunks and components to put together the Telecaster. So it lends itself to very easy project stuff. But actually, it's a bit more than that, because when you think about it, the first single pickup guitar in the bridge was a ESquier, a Telecaster shaped guitar. I think it predated the Les Paul Jr., well before there even existed to be a Stratocaster. The first single coil guitar swapped with humbuckers in the Fender realm was when people would put a PAF in the neck on their Telecasters and leave that single coil in the bridge. But when you think about it even more, what was the first solid body Fender to get double humbuckers? It wasn't the Stratocaster, which would be easy with a pickguard and just throwing them in there. It was a Telecaster custom, right? Furthermore, the thin line Telecaster was the first F-hole semi-hollow solid body, semi-hollow body in the Fender arsenal, well before like the Eric Johnson Strat came out with one, or some of the one-off stuff that came out in the 90s and the 2000s. It was the Tele that was the first semi-hollow body. And really, when you think about it, Fender has taken all of their risks and kind of variations with the Telecaster before it went to the Stratocaster. Even to the point that in the 80s, the set neck FMT Teles, the 80s and 90s, those were there. There was a set neck thing before I think Fender did a set neck Telecaster too. So for all of the amazingly classical traditionalism of Fender's first real guitar shape, it's definitely had the most variations and the earliest variations because of, once again, that basic, super simple construction. Just some wood, a neck of any different variety, basic formula, put it together in a couple hours, and you're ready to go. And that's what's made the Telecaster be such a huge thing, and it's been just embraced by so many artists over the years. Whether it's been Keith Richards, Jimmy Page, Eric Clapton, going forward to Tom Petty, even John Five, Bruce Springsteen. The Telecaster has been embraced by so many artists, and there's a good chance that if you picked an artist that you like and add the word Telecaster, you're going to find pictures on the almighty Google. And it's because it has a magic in and unto itself. It's its own special beast. And because of that wonderful formula, when you get one that you like but you don't love for one reason or another, it's just a neck swap away, a pickup swap away, a configuration swap away of really making it, the dream thing that you've been hunting for the entire time. The Telecaster does have just one of the more flexible, fun things to build, and it's the cheapest build project I think you can do. You can find bodies online unfinished for 50 bucks, 100 bucks with a finish. Necks can go anywhere from $70 from the Far East till all the way up to $350, $400, $500 for some crazy flamed out, bling ducky neck that make it whatever you want. Throw some parts, some tuners, You know, if you're really cutting a budget, make an ESquier. Single pickup. You're only buying one thing. You can start with a super cheap one and swap it in later, upgrade, and go to your heart's content. It's just such a fun platform. And when it comes to the Telecaster, especially even in its classical setup, there's a piece of knowledge I heard from a guy named Red Volker. Red's a, you know, sausage finger ball kind of portly guy who's a phenomenal player. If you ever subscribe to a Vintage Guitar magazine, you'll see Red in there. And I saw him at a show in Austin, Texas, and I was like, the Tele's just hard. It's just, especially for me at that age and time and even now, I was like, I just can't get all of my tones out of it. And he said something to the tune of, and I'll paraphrase, that the Telecaster is the graduate school of guitars. You start off with like something, a Stratocaster or something with humbuckers in, you go big, you go huge, and then as you wind through life, you find a way to get all those tones by rocking the volume knob, by rocking the tone knob, by setting your amp up in a certain way, and you're able to get everything out of that one guitar. Which is kind of a really neat perspective on the Telecaster there, and it was really cool talking to Red because he's just an awesome, awesome guy. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed taking a break from Les Pauls and Stratocasters and thing and talking about Telecasters, because they're just a fun project guitar. They're a fun thing to work on. I've really embraced them. Apparently silly right now. I think I have as many Tele-shaped guitars as I have Les Paul-shaped guitars, if not more. And there's always the next one. You know, and just slowly accumulate your parts, make sure they all work, figure out your attack plan, and go nutty. Now, before we go, I'll just quickly walk through each of those guitars in case you have more interest. You can comment down below, ask questions, I can give you more details for that. First guitar is a Harley Benton TE90 FLT, but this came with a reversed headstock Benton neck on it. And I swapped that in for a very nice flame maple neck. Made for a company called Mammoth Guitars out in California that I got just for an absolute steal back in the day. And I feel like it just made this guitar be like the most upmarket. Great pickups. I love the hell out of this guitar. It's really a great take on a Capronita, but these TV Jones copies, really, really cool. I think it's one of the best deals you can get from Benton if you don't mind the reverse headstock or if you go and fix it. Next up's the guitar you're going to see soon on the channel. It's a SX Guitars Furion with two P90s, stop tail bridge, string through body design, nice bolt neck, beaky headstock that either you love or you hate or you're completely apathetic to. But you know, Chinese made, inexpensive, but the tones, I was really impressed with just the growl and the enjoyment out of these pickups, especially in the sub $200 price range. Next we have my ESquier, which is a really heavy oak bodied, really cool roached out. I'm doing the bridge as a top loader instead of a string through body because stuff didn't line up. This is actually a cheap Chinese neck that I got. I think the headstock matches the guitar nicely. Bolt neck, real just rough and tumble. I bought this old 63 Massachusetts pickguard and cut it down. 10 snips and a hammer, all I used on this kind of section. It's got a single Buddha pickup in it, and it's just a fun aged hardware, you know, ESquier clone to do that. Bad Cat SH330 is a video that was up recently for this bad boy. SemiHollow, classic Tele, you know, Wilkinson bridge and neck pickup. 609 tuners, kind of a cool take on a Tele headstock, not as obnoxious as the SX. I think these are on Amazon for $170 right now. Very inexpensive, but a surprisingly fun guitar to play and work with. This is my butterscotch Tele, all flamed out. It's all finished in nitro. I kind of did the PRS tape off edge. Minwax mustard for the kind of the stain I use for the back. Also from Mammoth Guitars at the time of really just super crazy flamey neck that I got, I think for under $200, so $180, which is ridiculous. Fender hardware, Fender logo, faking the funk, of course, but this is my classic Telecaster kind of setup. Very recent guitar, Artist guitars. I did a video for this a little while ago. 2 humbuckers, coil taps, very comfortable neck to it. Really awesome take on a headstock, very similar to the Harley Benton Telecaster neck headstock, the one that they sell on their guitars. This is heavy, but not crazy heavy. On this particular one, it's a lot of pieces of ash there, but the grain lines up really well that you don't notice it. Just super impressive. As I say, with the coil taps, but also the fit and finish on this with locking tuners really blew me away. And I think the $180 is what they were in the US. Sold out again. Thanks, guys. I think you helped sell them out. This is my Tuxedo Telecaster. It's a double bound, really cheap Polonia lightweight body with a Charlie Christian, which is an old school 50s style, 40s and 50s style single coil pickup with a rail. This is a take on kind of the Electro Hawaiian version of the Charlie Christian with a Seymour Duncan single rail on the bridge. You know, brass saddles, Grover locking tuner or Grover regular tuners on it. Another Mammoth Guitars neck. I missed getting stuff from them. And this was a fortuitous find because it's an ebony fretboard, which I thought really completed the whole super cool look of this guitar. This is the first barn Casper I did. This is a pine body, so it's pretty lightweight. I put a Seymour Duncan mini hum I did laying around. It didn't quite fit, so I used a hammer and screwdriver as a chisel. Likewise, the bridge was a little off, so I had to chisel out some of that. My rule with this was hammer and screwdriver were the only tools allowed. I actually have an aged plate for this as well. And I did this with, it's a rosewood fretboard on a mahogany neck. And I thought the mahogany color kind of matched this dark section through the wood, so aesthetically speaking, it just really works. And this is just, you know, this body was 30 bucks, you know, and I just Troil stained it. You know, as I say, a little bit of nudging it to get it to do the right thing. Put some hip shot locking tuners on it. They are staggered, so you don't need the string tree. I may still put a string tree on it, I'm not sure, but this guitar is just fun. It's got a growl. Because I love this one so much, I actually sold the vintage Hot Rod Telecaster Nitro one that I had recently because I just like this guitar more. It's just more me, and it's just a fun guitar. When you bring it out, people go, whoa, what the hell's that thing? And last, and quite literally least, is I bought this from a guy who did a project and then stripped it down and never got back to it. So I think it was $100 or something like that, maybe a little more. And it's a really cool, you know, 3-way switch, 1 volume, 1 tone Tele pickup, set up for a neck through body bridge. But what I liked about this is it's that EVH style, you know, the adjuster in the heel and the divot to go here so that you can have a classic looking headstock, but you don't have to take the neck off to adjust the gosh darn truss rod cover. With that said, I need to strip the whole neck again. I don't really like the finish you put on it. It does have some flame to it, it's pretty nice. But I want to strip that and then set this thing back up and try my hand again at, you know, finishing this in a nice, pretty way. This has been the show and tell portion of the video. With all of that, I've been Nick in the States. Yes, indeed, folks, I do have issues. Thanks for letting me share them with you today. Take care.
Check out some of these videos, and so when you click the right button, I'm going to ask you to go to music class. You know, yeah, I'm going to ask you to go to music class.
Ninja class!